All right. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to our Sunday morning coffee house. My name is Megan Moore. I am co-founder of the Center for Functional Nutrition, and we're delighted that you have come to join us this morning. Today is December the 13th. It's kind of warm and overcast here in South Hadley, Massachusetts. But we are very excited to have Russell Mariani present to us this morning. Russell is co-founder of the Center for Functional Nutrition. He's an author, digestive wellness expert, and today he is going to speak to us about healthy cells, the gift that keeps on giving. But before Russell does that, I just have a couple of housekeeping announcements. Next Sunday, we're very excited and delighted that we're going to be having a number of presenters back. There'll be a number of people presenting, and we are calling our coffee house in celebration of the season of light. So a number of different people will be joining us, and that will be our last coffee house of 2020. There'll be no coffee house on the 27th, and there'll be no coffee house on January the 3rd, but we will start up on, I guess it's January the 10th again. So without further ado, I do welcome Russell to our Zoom.
Thank you, Megan. And can you hear me clearly?
Yes, I can.
And can you see me clearly?
I can, very clearly.
All right, very good. So welcome, everybody. Thanks so much for being here. Those of you who are here live and those of you who will be watching the recording of this little presentation. And yeah, the theme that got started is healthy cells, the gift that keeps on giving. And as I prepared during the week, what came to me was just to share a few things about my own story in relationship to healthy cells. And so that's what I'd like to do this morning. And I will be sharing the good news at the end of the coffee house. And that's also totally in keeping with everything else that I'm going to be presenting from start to finish today. So again, thanks for being here. So as a child, I had a recurring dream. And this dream started around the age of 7. And it was very interesting, very unusual for me. I didn't understand it at all. And I really didn't understand what it was until much later in my life. But later in life, when I realized what I was seeing in my dream as a child, I realized that I had this imagination that I was a cell, that my person, that I was a cell in the body of God, or in the religion I was brought up in, I was a cell in the body of this cosmic Christ. And that my actions had consequences to the people nearby and to the whole of this cosmic body. And again, this was a recurring dream. I couldn't possibly have explained it to anybody at 7 years old, and I'm quite sure I didn't even try to explain it to anybody. But it was there all the time, sometimes in the foreground, sometimes in the background. And, you know, entering teenage years and then off to college. And I was very interested in philosophy and Eastern religion. And I was pretty much, I knew I had a strong connection to God, to the spiritual world, but I really was quite lost. And then one day, just a month or two before my college graduation, I was an English major. I attended a poetry reading. And the poet was a man named Robert Bly. And some of you on the coffee house today are from the Minneapolis, Minnesota area. And so you probably know of this wonderful man, Robert Bly. Well, back then, 1977, he was probably 50 years old. And he was really at the peak of his performance powers. And I saw him give a reading. And prior to that night, when I had seen any poets give a reading, they literally read from a book. You know, they'd stand at a lectern and read their poems, or maybe read a poem or two from somebody else. But on this particular night, Robert Bly never opened a book once. He just stood in front of this small crowd of college students and faculty and told stories and recited poems, poems of his own, poems of other people, poems that he had translated. And I was completely blown away. I'd never seen a human being behave this way or perform in this way. And then at a certain point in the presentation, in the poetry reading, he read a poem called from the Persian poet Kabir. And I'm going to share that with you now, because when I heard this poem, it changed my life. And I resonated back to this image of my body being a cell in the big cosmic body of God. So here's this wonderful poem. It's called Inside This Clay Jug. Clay jug being a metaphor for the human body. Inside this clay jug, there are canyons and pine mountains, and the maker of canyons and pine mountains. All 7 oceans are inside, and hundreds of millions of stars. The acid that tests gold is there, and the one who judges jewels, and the music from the strings that no one touches, and the source of all water. If you want the truth, I'll tell you the truth, friend. Listen, the God whom I love is inside. And when I heard this poem, again, I resonated back to this image that I had had, this recurring dream. And it was really the first time in my life when I knew for a certainty that not only God was inside me, but this consciousness that was being talked about so much in the 70s, and before that, of course, but I was only paying attention in the 70s. And we still talk about today, this consciousness that is benevolent, that loves us, that guides us, that supports us. And suddenly I realized that consciousness that I'm seeking out here is really inside every cell of my body. And so this was a profound moment. In fact, when the reading was over that night, I remember I didn't want to talk to anybody. And I walked out onto the campus at Rutgers University, where I was attending. And I walked around the campus for the rest of the night, probably starting at 10 o'clock at night until dawn the next day. I didn't go back to my apartment until early the next morning, because I understood something quite profound. Now, of course, I didn't know the full extent of that, but I knew I was on to something. So what I'd like to do now is to, what I wanted to say was, after that experience, I was devouring books of poetry, books of biology, books of everything. I was trying to, get to the bottom of this whole issue of cells. And I came across a book by a French writer named Alexis Carrel, who wrote this book in 1935 called Man the Unknown. And I'm just going to share one very short little quote from this book. And he said, "Human beings originate from a single cell. This cell divides into 2 other cells, which in turn divide themselves. And this division continues on indefinitely. In the course of this process of structural elaboration and construction, the embryo retains the functional simplicity of the original single-celled egg. The cells of the human body seem to remember their original unity, even when they have organized and become the elements of an innumerable multitude. Each cell understands spontaneously and intuitively the functions required of them inside the organized whole. This innate knowledge of the part they must play in the manifestation of a healthy, wholesome body is a consciousness or mode of being inside each and every cell. Again, that's written by a man named Alexis Carrel in a book called Man the Unknown from 1935. So that's a pretty amazing insight from a very long time ago. Now, what I'd like to do next is to share a short video that will give dramatic graphic illustration to cells. In fact, it's called An Introduction to Cells, and it was created by a man named Frank Gregorio. And what I want to call your attention to before I show the video is there's many amazing things. It's only about 2 minutes long. It's very amazing images that you'll see. But one particular image, you'll see a type of cell that moves along the surface and engulfs another cell. And I just, every time I watch this, I want to stop it at that point and call out to everybody who's watching and say, that's a lymphocyte. That's one of your immune cells devouring a virus or devouring a bacteria. Okay? So I'll talk a little more about all these things on the other side of the video, but that's what I'd like to do now. So I'm going to share my screen, and I have it queued up, and then I'll see you on the other side of the video. Okay. So, so I hope everybody saw that moment when that kind of large, blobby cell devours the smaller cell. So in the context of today's world, I wanted to focus on this because right now everybody is concerned, if not afraid, of this virus, COVID-19. And we hear news all the time about the number of people infected today and the number of people who've died today. And it's a terrible tragedy that's happened in our world. And I believe the major reason why it's happening to the degree that it's happening is because we do not have a comprehensive healthcare system. We don't have a healthcare system in this country. We don't have a healthcare system globally that teaches people how to be healthy. We have a disease care system that intervenes when somebody gets sick. And some of that is miraculous. You know, you're in a car accident, thank God for modern medicine. If you break your arm or leg, thank God for modern medicine. If you're tired, or if you have a headache, or if you have a GI upset, or you have any number of other problems, you're basically just given a prescription and told to, do the best you can. And if you had the wherewithal as a patient to ask the doctor, well, is there anything else I can be doing? Should I change my diet? The doctors often say, no, eat what you want. Okay. Now, I can understand them saying that back in 1973, when I was 18 years old and just beginning my healing journey. But 50 years later, almost 50 years later, to not have a comprehensive approach, an owner's manual. Everyone should have an owner's manual that instructs them what to eat, what to drink, what to avoid, how to sleep, how to exercise, how to take care of the cells of their own body. Because as we saw in this video, when the cells of your body are healthy and functioning normally, they don't even have to be functioning optimally. Nobody has to be Superman or Superwoman. But when the cells of your body are functioning normally, you will be protected. I remember reading a book by Dr. Gary Samuelson called The Science of Healing Revealed. And in a chapter on the immune system, he was talking about, all the different components of our immune system. It's not just one set of cells, it's about 30 different set of cells. And one particular type of cell called a natural killer cell has the ability to identify cancer cells, any other type of abnormal cell, any other type of tumor cell, any type of cell that got created inside of our body that shouldn't be there. One natural killer cell can kill, dismantle, tear apart 100 cancer cells. And the natural killer cells does this by latching on to the cell and injecting enzymes into the cell, which then causes that cell or virus or bacteria to disintegrate, to literally self-implode. So the basic idea, the basic message that I wanted to communicate this morning was, imagine if everybody on planet Earth knew this information, knew that actually all the resources that they need to protect themselves, defend themselves from COVID-19 or any other virus or any other bacteria exists inside their own body. And that the relationship between nutrition and health is not casual. It's not eat what you want. It's causal, that we actually have so much more to say about our health outcome. Some doctors I've met and talked to say we have total control, researchers, we have total control over the outcome of our health. So to me, this is very good news. This is inspiring. This is motivating. It's what motivates me every morning to get up and do the work that I do, which is to help people to heal, to teach people the fundamentals of nutrition and health. And this whole knowledge and wisdom about cells is critical to our ability to take better care of ourselves, to take better care of each other. The last point I would like to share is that although although cells are independent beings, as the author Alexis Carrel noted in his quote, they are also completely interdependent. In other words, no cell is an island. There's no cell that's kind of operating independently from any other cells. All cells are intimately connected and related to the cells right next to them. They group together and form tissues. The tissues group together and form organs. The organs group together and form systems. So this is what I feel is missing in our world today. There's so much division, and yet what unifies us is real. And what unifies us is we're all made of cells. And those cells manifest a behavior when we're healthy, when we know what we're doing. Those cells will demonstrate to us a degree of selflessness, a degree of service to others, to their neighbors, to their neighboring cells, a degree of unconditional love that the world desperately needs right now. So we don't have to go to political antagonisms. We can go to science. We can go to biology. We can go to the truth of our physical existence and learn the things that will not only empower ourselves to be balanced and healthy and compassionate and kind and generous in our own lives, but we can encourage other people to do the same thing. I believe that this is the way forward. I believe that this is, actually, this is what I signed up for back in 1978. The dedication of one of the very first books I read on health and healing was that the particular book I read said, this book is dedicated to one peaceful world through the biological transformation of humanity. And I believe today, almost 50 years later, 50 years after reading that book, that this is the most important information, this is the most important message that I can deliver to others, to the world. And I know that many other people share this same point of view. So I think I'll stop there and see if there are any questions or comments. Does that make sense to you, Megan?
Yeah, boy, thank you, Russell. I was immersed in your presentation. It was like a story. It moved along so simply and so comprehensively, and so I was so invited into my cells, So it was very good. Thank you. And this dream that you had when you were 7 years old was significant, and significant in the sense that you listened to it. And it must have been, I don't know what that was like for you. What was that like for you would be my question. And then we can just open it up to everybody else. But I would like you to
Yeah,
just
thanks, Megan, for asking that question. What I remember, and I remember quite vividly, even today at the ripe old age of 65, I remember there was a lot of light in the dream. I remember kind of being encased inside a halo, and that everybody else was kind of encased inside of a halo. And so when I watch that video, an introduction to cells, and I see all that light, and I see that, most cells are circles or circular shapes. I think that's what I was seeing. I was seeing the reality of cells, way far before I ever heard of any, conversation or discussion about, before I ever had my first biology class, that's for sure. So, yeah, but and it was always, I would wake up and I never felt afraid. I never felt bothered or troubled. I didn't know how to communicate about it. I always felt safe, and I always felt like, I'm sure in my little imagination, I always felt that's amazing. I don't know what that was, but that was pretty amazing.
Well, thank you. Does anybody else have a comment or question for Russell?
Just put your hand up, and then we'll call on you. Leslie Holbrook, please, do you know how to unmute yourself? Leslie?
Yes, she does.
Can you unmute yourself?
Is it?
Yeah.
There you go. There you go.
Okay, great. I just want to thank you, Russell, for this message of hope and being able to be in control. And, and that's something that we have to really address, and not just take doctors. I mean, doctors are wonderful, but I always feel lately that you're a guinea pig. And through you and through this message of cells and so forth, I just feel optimistic after hearing this morning. Thank you.
Thank you, Leslie. Thank you. That's great. Thank you. There is much to be hopeful for and about.
Leela,
please go ahead.
Hi, I'm sorry I tuned in late, so I apologize if you already covered this, but like theory and practice are two different things. And I understand the theory, and the practice of it is really difficult to apply, and overcoming like old habits. Any comments on that, on how to actually practice the theory?
Yes, thank you, Layla. Thank you for that question. I would suggest you purchase my book. To the best of my ability, I have written the owner's manual that I referred to earlier in my conversation. So, from my perspective, from the point of view of functional medicine and functional nutrition, as I understand it, there are biological principles, and then there are biological practices. So there are 7 root cause areas that are at the cause of all health challenges. And so this is what I describe in the book. And for example, hydration is one of those 7 root cause areas. So everybody knows that, but not everybody knows that there's a very particular way to guarantee that your body's properly hydrated every day. So I go through all of that, each of the 7 root cause areas. And again, my goal was to put together an owner's manual so that someone like yourself with that very question, okay, I get the theory, I understand the whole thing, generally about cells, and I want to take better care of my own cells. How do I do that? So, in the nutshell, that's what I would recommend. And that's really why that's the purpose of my work, basically. Thank you for that question. Anyone else?
I don't see enough.
That's fine. We're kind of at the top of the hour.
Yeah.
So I have an amazing good news that I want to share with you. And thank you, Leslie, for saying that this was good news. What I've shared so far in the presentation. It's good news for me. I wouldn't be able to be as hopeful and optimistic, and I certainly wouldn't be effective as a practitioner if I not only believed all this, but that I see it play out day after day with the people that I work with. So there's very much a lot to be hopeful for and optimistic about. So so about 2 months ago now, I came across a couple, Abigail and Sean Bengtson. And this is a wonderful couple. They're singers and actors. And a couple of years ago, 2017, they did a performance, a stage performance called 100 Days. And it either showed on Broadway or off Broadway, but it was a big deal. And this morning I read a couple of reviews in the New York Times because I had seen this song. I had seen it, watched it on YouTube, but I didn't know the backstory of it. So I just want to share that with you and then share this video of their performance of 100 Days. And then we'll come back and say goodbye to each other. But the basic idea is, what if you knew with absolute certainty that you only had 100 days to live? What would you do? How would you live your life? And so the lyrics are simple, and you might catch some of them, you might catch most of them, but if you don't worry. You can Google 100 Days, the Bengtsons, Bengssons, 100 Days lyrics, and get the lyrics. And of course, you can Google 100 Days song on YouTube and watch this again. So before I switch to the, where is it? To the video, I just want to say that the next 100 days of your life, the next 100 days of my life, the next 100 days of our lives, the next 100 days of the life of our nation, the life of our world, is really critical. We all know that. We've been hearing the stories. The next 100 days of this pandemic are really going to be challenging. And so I offer this performance to you and to the world. And we will get through it, and we will get through it because of people like the Bengtsons. So thank you, Sean and Abigail. Oh, shoot. Boy, that was too bad. I just deleted the video. So hang in there. I will bring it. I will find it again. 1 second. Okay, come on. There it is. All right, sorry. Let me try one other thing. I'm so sorry. Wow. It will be worth the wait, I promise you. All right, if you have headphones, put them.
I want 100 days of bright light. 100 days, you're my man, a bright light away, away. Hey.
For the first time,
We look up
and find we've never had it any better.
and when we find
time. I will never die. I make America, I am a universe, I'll never go away. Hey, 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 hey. I am a universe, I'm your man, I'll never go away. Hey.
You say no. Oh, if you don't believe us, we'll break the hearts and say goodbye. You will never die. I want 100 days of bright light. Hey, hey, away. 100 days, you're my man. A bright light away, away. I know 100 days of bright light. 100 days, you're my man. A bright light away. We are stars. We can burn forever before we're gone. Before we're gone. Kiss and wave and nod and smile and hug and explain and lie. Bye, 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 bye. Kiss and wave and nod and smile and hug and explain and lie.
I'll hold all of the shots and make her whole.
On and on.
On and on. I'll hold all of the shots that make her.
I want 100 days of bright light. 100 days, you're my man. A bright light away, away.
I'll make her
100 days, a bright light. Hey, hey, away. 100 days, you're my man. A bright light away, away.
Yeah. What they said. Oh, I don't know about you, but my heart skipped a few beats, and that's exhilarating. So I don't know that we need to say anything other than
No.
I love you all and thank you for being here. And when we find and do things that nourish ourselves best, all will be well today and in all the days ahead. So thank you and
Yes,
see
thank you.
Thank you.
Have a wonderful week.
You as well.
Thanks for the
We'll
wonderful
see
message.
you next Sunday.